You are busy every single day. And yet, at the end of most days, you feel like you accomplished nothing that actually matters. You are not lazy. You are not weak. You are living someone else's version of your time. Seneca figured this out 2,000 years ago. These are his 10 lessons, and they will change how you live. Seneca was not a monk living in isolation. He was one of the wealthiest, most powerful men in Rome, advisor to an emperor, playwright, philosopher. And he spent most of his life doing things that didn't matter until one day he stopped. He wrote to his friend Lucilius hundreds of letters about one thing: how to actually live before you run out of time. These are his 10 most powerful lessons. Lesson 1. You are wasting the one thing you can never get back. Think about the last week of your life. How much of it did you choose? How much of it happened to you? Most people plan their finances carefully. They protect their possessions. They lock their doors at night. And they give their time, the only truly non-renewable resource they have, to anyone who asks for it, without question, without hesitation. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." He is not talking about productivity. He is talking about attention. Every hour you spend on things that don't align with your values is an hour you will never see again. Start counting. Start choosing. Lesson 2. Your busyness is hiding something. You know that feeling. Staying busy so you don't have to think. Filling every hour so the silence never comes. Seneca saw this everywhere in Rome. Senators rushing from meeting to meeting. Merchants always traveling. Men of affairs always occupied. And he wrote, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." The person who is always busy is usually running from something. From a question they don't want to answer, a life they don't want to examine, a truth they are not ready to face. Seneca's lesson is not to do less for the sake of it. It is to stop using busyness as an escape. Sit in the quiet. Ask the hard question. What are you really avoiding? Lesson 3. You keep postponing the life you actually want. When things settle down, you'll start. When you have more money, you'll begin. When the timing is right, you'll finally do it. Sound familiar? Seneca wrote to Lucilius, "Omnia Lucili aliena sunt, tempus tantum nostrum est." Everything is alien to us. Only time is truly ours. He watched brilliant men spend their entire lives preparing to live and dying before they began. The timing will never be right. The money will never be enough. The conditions will never be perfect. Seneca's lesson: begin now, not tomorrow, not after the next milestone. The life you keep postponing, it is happening right now, whether you show up for it or not. Lesson 4. You're more afraid of losing comfort than you realize. Here's something Seneca actually did. Regularly, voluntarily, he lived as if he had lost everything. Simple food, rough clothing, no luxury, for days at a time. Not because he had to answer one question: is this the condition that I feared? And every time, the answer was no. What he feared was not poverty itself, it was the uncertainty of not knowing if he could handle it. The practice removed that uncertainty. You don't have to give up your comfort permanently, but test yourself occasionally. Go without something you think you need. Discover what you're actually made of. You will find, almost always, that you are stronger than your fears suggest. Lesson 5. You are living for an audience that isn't watching. How many of your decisions today were shaped by what someone else might think? What you wore, what you said, what you chose not to say. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little who is poor, but the man who hankers after more." He extended this to approval. The man who needs constant validation is the poorest man alive, no matter how much he has. Because his sense of worth depends entirely on others. And others are unpredictable, unreliable, often wrong. Seneca's lesson: return to your own values. Ask not, what will they think? Ask, is this right? Is this true? Is this mine? That question will free you from the most exhausting prison most people never realize they are in. Lesson 6. Thinking about death will make you more alive. This one makes people uncomfortable. Good. Seneca wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing." He practiced this daily, not to be morbid, to be awake. When you truly sit with the fact that your time is limited, the trivial becomes irrelevant. The petty argument, the minor embarrassment, the grudge you've been carrying, all of it falls away. What remains is what actually matters. The people you love, the work that means something, the life you actually want. Death is not the enemy of life. Forgetting that you will die is. Lesson 7. The people around you are shaping who you become. You probably already know this, but you are not acting on it. Seneca wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you, not people who make you feel comfortable, people who make you better." There's a difference. Comfort keeps you where you are. Growth requires friction, the honest friend, the challenging conversation, the person who tells you what you need to hear rather than what you want to hear. Look at the 5 people you spend the most time with. Are they pulling you toward the person you want to become, or keeping you comfortable where you are? The answer to that question will tell you everything. Lesson 8. Your anger is hurting you more than whoever caused it. Think of someone who wronged you. You might still be carrying that, years later, replaying it, resenting it. And that person, in all likelihood, has moved on completely. Seneca wrote, "How much more damage anger and grief do to us than the things that caused them." He is not asking you to excuse what was done. He is asking you to stop paying for someone else's mistake with your own peace. Forgiveness is not a gift you give to the person who hurt you. It is a gift you give to yourself. The anger you release today, that energy becomes available for something that actually matters. Lesson 9. You are lonelier than you need to be. Not because you don't have people around you, because you are not fully present with them. Seneca wrote, "Withdraw into yourself as much as you can with those who will make you better." He valued deep connection over wide connection, one honest conversation over 100 shallow ones, one friend who tells you the truth over 50 who tell you what you want to hear. When was the last time you had a conversation where you said something you actually meant, where you listened without planning your next response? Seneca's lesson: go deeper with fewer people. That is where the real nourishment is. Lesson 10. You already have enough to begin. Not enough money, not enough time, not enough confidence. This is the story most people tell themselves their entire lives. Seneca wrote, "If you wish to be free, do not desire that which belongs to others." He extended this beyond possessions. Stop waiting for the version of yourself that has everything figured out. That version is not coming. The person who has enough to begin is the person standing exactly where you are right now, with what you have, with who you are, with the time that remains. That has always been enough. The only question is whether you will decide to use it. Seneca spent the first half of his life accumulating everything Rome could offer: power, wealth, influence, status. And then he stopped and wrote, not for Rome, not for history, for himself, and for one friend who needed to hear the truth. These 10 lessons are what he found when he finally got honest. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it."